AskReddit. What did you do as a teenager that you will never tell your parents? My time to shine. My senior year of high school, I snuck out of the house at like 2 AM to get some. My parents were a little psycho and put bells on the front and back doors. You know, in case of burglars. But they didn't put them on the laundry room door, which led to the garage. The garage had a side door in it that lead outside. So obviously that was my way out. The problem with that side door is that it's a bit hard to tell when it's locked, since you can always get out but not necessarily back in. So, me being stupid and horny, just assumed it was fine and went along my merry way. Did the deed then, when I tried to get back and I found the door locked. Shit, I tried every other possible entrance, all locked. But I had my phone and an idea so crazy it just might work. I called my mom. And in my best helpless daughter voice cried, "Mommy, I woke up in the front yard and the door is locked. I'm so scared." She came right out and got me. I mumbled something about sleepwalking. Then she made me waffles, since I was so distressed. My mom still tells the story at family get-togethers. I now have a reputation as a crazy sleepwalker. TLDR got laid, lied to my mom, then she made me waffles. See, there's a trick to those: you can go out but not always come back indoors. Get a pair of needle nose pliers and slide the bolt Y thing without actually fiddling the door knob. Might require a bit of bending of the plate thingy that goes around the hole where the bolt goes in. Pardon my overly technical language. Duck it, just stick with the sleep and walkie thing and eat the waffle things. It's less confusing than your attempt at English. I really didn't want to do PE one day, but I didn't have a good reason, so I knew my dad wouldn't write me a note. So what I did instead was get a plain piece of paper and asked him to sign it, because we're doing a thing in English where we try to guess the personality of a person from their signature, which he totally bought. I then went to the printer and typed out your standard sick note, stuck the signed plain paper into the printer so when the note printed my dad's signature would appear at the bottom. I will probably tell my dad this at some point, because I'm actually kinda proud of myself for pulling it off. My sister is amazing at copying other people's handwriting. She used to make some serious coin when we were in high school, got a lot of people out of school for the day. This was my high school talent. My mom taught me her signature when I was 12 because my reading class had a daily reading log that needed your parents to sign for a grade, and she was just not about that. I signed all of my own paperwork from then on, even things she wouldn't have necessarily agreed with. My mom still recalls this one day when I was unusually positive and talkative with her. It's because I was high out of my mind on Ritalin. I had a mini breakdown when I took Ritalin once and called my mom at 6 in the morning and told her how depressed I was and how anxious I was, and that a lot of the problems I had were because of her and my dad. Not a proud moment. Sorry, mom. It was a semi-regular thing for me to call my mom when I got too drunk or high before I slowed down my partying ways. God bless her, she always talked me down from my weird states and never complained about it. Once she made me go to my kitchen and make myself a PB&J, talking me through all the steps and asking me to tell her exactly what I was doing. It worked like a charm. I ate the sandwich and fell asleep with her on the phone. Later I asked her how the hell she knew that would calm me down from my bad high, and she said she learned it from Dr. Teeth in the 60s. She was amazing. I miss her a lot. My mom let my friends all come over the night after graduation. Believe it or not, she got together with the other moms for us to have a little party, complete with a few malt beverages and beer. We gave my mom all our keys. We turned up the music. We got out a table. We proceeded to play D&D all night. My mom still thinks we got drunk. It would break her heart to know the truth. All those times I sarcastically answered smoke the reefer to the question of what I was going out to do, I was actually telling the truth. My parents were incredibly surprised when I called them from jail. When they finally picked me up, I said in my defense, "What? I literally told you several times." And mom pauses and goes, "You got me there. Now shut the hell up." Snuck out of the house with a friend while I was staying over with her to meet a group of boys. She hooked up with one of them in a truck while the rest of us, me and the other two guys, hung around in the desert at night trying not to notice the truck rocking back and forth. I must have been 14 or so. Never did anything like that before or since. I went with her because I was afraid she'd get in trouble with the boys by herself. So I wanted to watch over her. We got caught by her parents who told me they were going to tell my parents. I prepared to be grounded for life. Then her dad changed his mind and told me I was a good kid and he would let this one go, but we had better not sneak out of his house again. Needless to say, he went through this a lot with his daughter. I never told my parents and never will lol. And I'm 28 now. I sneaked out a few times to have alone times with a high school girlfriend. Only got caught once. Modern cars are so quiet, teenagers now just don't know the struggle of trying to keep an old slant 6 from waking your parents. When I was in high school I would push my truck out of the driveway and down the street so my parents couldn't hear it start up. I hear you there. Unfortunately, my truck weighed 7,000 pounds. It was uphill out of the driveway and downhill shortly after, so essentially uphill both ways, and I had a big straight piped V8. So I had to hoof it for a mile or two, usually in the dark, to my friend's house. Rushing out of church to be sick with food poisoning when I was 14. Lots of people consoling me and being driven home early. I was very hungover. I showed my boobs to way too many guys on the internet. You could always increase that number and then it can become more of a hobby that you're proud of and less of a dirty secret. I could consider making it a hobby, haha. I showed my boobs to a bus full of Catholic boys. I was 17 and they were, I don't know, about 12. My friends dared me to flash them, just for a second. I swear the bus almost fell over from the force of 50 prepubescent boys slamming up against the windows on the side facing me. My parents know I smoke weed. They have no idea how much weed. And they never will. Edit. I'm leaving it, make your jokes. Living at home with my parents after college and this is me exactly. They caught me within a week and decided they'd allow it as long as it was only occasional use. My use is quite occasional, in that the occasion occurs multiple times a day. I've convinced my parents that it's my medicine. My real medications are, like, $50 per day. I can't afford that shit, so I seek illegal substances because they cost less. America is great. That time I came home on the eve of my 17th birthday and you said I looked different and I said it was because I'm older now. It was because my pupils were blown out and I was on acid. Had a rhyme, fine mom and dad. By the way, when did we get pictures that move? When did y'all start putting gifs up on the wall? Had a mom at 12 AM my pupils automatically becomes bigger because I get a year older. Setup. Sister is 4 years older than I, straight as an arrow. The type of sibling who enjoyed snitching on her younger brother. No worries. She's away at college. I'm the exact opposite. Always in trouble. Always playing it fast and loose. I'm a senior in high school. I'm holding down a job, getting decent grades and my parents decide that they can finally trust me enough to take a vacation and leave me in the house. They hire a house sitter, John, who doesn't care what I do as long as I don't burn the place down. On a fine Saturday morning, I wake up, pour myself a drink from my father's locked booze stash and put on some porn. I'm wearing a pair of underwear and nothing else. 10 minutes later, surprise, my sister walks through the door. Fortunately, I hear the car just in time to shut off the porn and throw a blanket around my mostly naked and fully erect body parts. Sees, notices, of course, that I'm hanging out in the living room, wrapped up in a blanket, face red as a beet. Hey, didn't know you were coming home. I'm gonna jump in the shower. End of story. Right, wrong. Sees, finds my drink, spiked with dad's booze. I'd finished it off, but she detects the smell of booze. Unbeknownst to me, she wraps the cup in saran wrap, sealing in the smell. She writes my parents a note, telling them how she found the cup next to my chair when she popped in for a surprise visit. She places the cup and the note in my parents' bathroom. A couple of days pass. I'm preparing for my parents' imminent return by cleaning the house. I find the note and the cup, hidden away. Not only does it implicate me, it implicates John, the house sitter. Seems that my sister also found a stash of condoms and lube elsewhere in the house. I read it. I'm beside myself. I take the saran wrap off the cup, rinse it, replace the contents with plain Coke. I then show the note to John, the house sitter. John, well, she's a bit on edge. The condoms are mine. Just part of my overpass kit. Why was she snooping through my things? Me, yeah. The rest was like watching a predictable yet perfectly choreographed movie. My parents arrive home. John pulls them aside to talk about the note and the cup. They sniff the cup, smell nothing. They read the note and interpret it as paranoid delusion. My sister gets a stern lecture on the dangers of snooping and invading the privacy of others. And I, the 17-year-old drunk who nearly got caught jerking off in the living room, get an apology from my parents. My lips are sealed. Forever. I'm not proud of this anymore, but after I realized that my parents had stashed all the liquor behind the washer and dryer, I totally started taking a few shots here and there. Once my friends found out I had access to my parents' redneck liquor cabinet, we overdid it one weekend at the beach. And I panicked, because this time I knew my parents would notice. But I also had to pee, and there were no public restrooms at that beach. So I went behind a sand dune and peed in a fast food cup, then poured it back into my dad's mostly empty rum bottle. Drunken teenage logic decided that I'd had enough rum that day, that I had just been borrowing it from good old dad. So I gave it back. I'll never know if my parents use the rum for anything, but what I can say for sure is that they attended a party every January and brought their own homemade brew which was part rum. TLDR, I'm pretty sure I'll let my parents drink my pee. There are a few in here that people could eventually tell their parents. This is not one of them. My parents were both out of town, but left the car with keys in kitchen. Anyway, I was 16, just learned how to drive, and this girl texted me to come pick her up and come back to my place. 10 minutes later I'm grabbing the keys and driving across town in a car that I shouldn't be in with no license. They are never gonna find that one out. I took my dad's manual car out for a ride a few weeks after he tried teaching me it. Only managed to stall it once, and when I did I seemed like a pro getting it going again. When I got my first cell phone, a Nexus 5, my parents kinda went nuts with the whole plugged in and turned off in the living room at night thing, knowing them it was probably an anti-porn measure. Unfortunately all them, my 3DS had, and a half decent internet browser. When I was about 15, I took half an eighth of mushrooms and maybe 8 or more quercetin pills and went downstairs to watch a movie with my parents. My parents were always fighting back then. They really hated each other, and I hated them as well, but for some reason, that night was very pleasant. We were all laughing and joking, and having a genuinely good time. Meanwhile, the walls around them were breathing and the carpet was swirling beneath me. I was having trouble focusing on their faces, that would be the quercetin, but I wasn't in the least bit paranoid that they may know I was high. It was an extremely strange night. My dad and I are friends now, and we've talked about our drug use. When we were younger, he was getting high in his room, while I was getting high in mine, and angrily taking my weed when he caught me and smoking it himself. Apparently my mom was the one who was adamantly anti-drug. Dad just put on a show for her sake, but for some reason, I've never mentioned that night to him. Plot twist, your parents weren't even home, and you were having a conversation with a lamp and a candle. I used to sneak out and do stupid stuff with my friends in the neighborhood. Not drugs or drinking, but stealing stop signs, egging a house once, laying on the golf course, and shooting the shit. I honestly though my folks knew about it, and that they were just of the kids will be kids mentality. I even got a ride home with the local police once or twice. But no, my parents had no ducking clue what I was up to. I don't want to tell them not, because I worry about what they think of me, but rather that they would blame themselves for not seeing it. I did a lot of DMT in high school. When my parents asked where I was going, I always said no idea, probably another dimension. I'm sure they knew I was smoking pot, but I'm positive that they have no idea what dimethyltryptamine is, or what it does. Me neither. It's a hallucinogen. Effects last only an hour or so, but it's in the same classification as LSD and peyote. A lot of people call it the businessman special, or at least they used to, because the effects are short enough that you can take it on your lunch hour. Was trying to convince my dad to buy me a new computer for college. He doesn't exactly like the fact that I play video games due to the Asian/Middle Eastern mentality of study till you die, but I'd been doing it for so long he begrudgingly accepted it after realizing it wasn't just a phase. However, he made it clear that he would only buy a computer for the express purpose of helping me get a computer science degree. Shocker, right? Unfortunately, he wasn't tech savvy at all. So I searched online stores until I found a laptop that I wanted to replace my old shitty one with. It was an $800 Asus gaming laptop with middle of the road specs for the time. There was no way he would ever buy me a laptop that was built for the express purpose of gaming. So I used Inspect Element to replace all instances of the word gaming on the product page with the word studying, and made sure not to reload the page when showing it to him. It would change the words back into gaming. It worked, and within 1 week I got my new studying computer.